Hi, I'm Captain, and this video shows the solution to the Ghug Gambit Puzzle. If you haven't tried to figure it out yourself yet, I strongly recommend you go back and give it a go before watching this. If you're having trouble working it out, there's also a hint video that might help. The link is in the description below. Right, now that's out of the way, let's get to answering the question. Let's start at the end and have a look at the position you need to be in when the two phases are up. There's only one stalemate position that can be achieved in the required time frame, no matter what France does in the fall, and that's this one. You may be thinking that this isn't actually a stalemate line, and if you're thinking that, then you're right. This is actually what's known as a stalling line. Simply put, stalling lines are positions which are stalemates, but only if the defending side guesses what the attacker is going to do correctly. Here's a quick example. In this scenario, Germany is defending a stalling line against an Austrian attacker, specifically around its home supply centres. Because he doesn't have enough units to protect both Berlin and Munich against any attack, he has to guess what the Austrian player will do, and act accordingly, using Kiel to support Berlin if he thinks that Austria will attack that centre, or using it to support Munich if he thinks that's where the attack will be focused. It's called a stalling position because all Germany gains by guessing correctly is an extra phase where Austria hasn't broken through. He's stalled Austria for one turn. This could be very helpful if, say, there was a German unit in Picardy that needed time to get to Ruhr to form an actual stalemate, but if there's nothing to stall for, then a stalling line is useless, as Germany will eventually guess wrong and Austria will win. Side note, the example that always comes to mind when I talk about stalling positions was a game I was in called Modboat. In this game, France managed to hold a stalling position against a 17-centre Turkey by winning 4 coin tosses in a row, correctly predicting which 2 possible attacks Turkey would perform every turn for 4 phases. This gave time for an extra English fleet to arrive and secure the stalemate line, forcing Turkey to draw. This position is a stalling line rather than a stalemate line because you're forced to guess whether France supports North Africa to Tunis with Western Med, or supports Gulf of Lion to Tyrrhenian Sea. Guessing incorrectly will lead to you eventually losing Tunis. However, since France is telling you his orders in advance, you will always know what France will be doing, so this position works as a stalemate line. Just order Ionian to support Naples to the Tyrrhenian if he's supporting himself into the Tyrrhenian, or have Ionian support hold Tunis otherwise. Since France can never advance, this counts as a stalemate. So, we know the final position, but how do we get there? If you've examined the puzzle, you've probably found the major problem. You have to get a unit to Tunis at the end of the spring phase, but you also have to bounce France in the Tyrrhenian Sea, and if either one of these isn't done, then France will inevitably solo. Since the Austrian fleet in the Ionian Sea is the only one that can do either of these actions, it seems like you have to choose between one or the other. The fleet has to be sent to 2 different provinces in the same turn to solve the puzzle. The answer lies in the retreat phase. By abusing retreats, we can give the unit in Ionian 2 moves in the spring. First to the Tyrrhenian, bouncing the French fleet out, then dislodging it with the 2 Russian fleets and retreating it into Tunis, thus performing both of the required moves in the spring. Another side note, using retreats to move twice in a turn is something that's used to great effect in a couple of the more interesting Italian openings, namely the Blue Water Lepanto and the Königgrätz Freakout. I won't go into these now, but I'm planning to make a video on them at some point, so there'll be a link to it here when it's up. This leaves us with units in Tunis and the Ionian against units in Gulf of Lion, Western Med, and a unit in the Mid-Atlantic Ocean that can enter North Africa this phase. We need to block the Tyrrhenian Sea again to make sure that France can't take Tunis, but we'll need to have another unit adjacent to the Tyrrhenian next phase, otherwise he can attack it with Gulf of Lion while supporting North Africa into Tunis, which guarantees that he takes Tunis either that phase or the following one. At this point it should be fairly easy to spot that the same retreat trick can be used again. Entering the moves shown will form a true stalemate position if France does not bounce in the Tyrrhenian, or will bounce France's moves and dislodge the Russian fleet, allowing the retreat to Naples. Doing this will form the stalling position I talked about at the start of the video, and voila, the puzzle is solved. This puzzle is based on a real situation in the second Peanut Gallery game on webdiplomacy.net, a game featuring some of Web Diplomacy's best players which was open for public commentary on the forums. The puzzle was significantly altered from the original to remove alternative options, and the French boast about being able to tell his opponents what he was doing and still win never actually happened, but the possibility of using a double retreat to hold Tunis was still there, and the spring 1911 move bounce retreat was used. After that, however, Austria disbanded one of his fleets behind the Ionian, making the second retreat impossible to pull off and guaranteeing that France could take Tunis. Thankfully for the Austrian and the Russian players, they had some spare Russian fleets remaining in the north that could be used to retake Berlin and make up for the lost southern centre. The game ended in a draw, with France stalemated on 17 centres. Anyhow, this was the Ghug Gambit Puzzle, and congratulations if you managed to figure it out. Special thanks to the Reddit user who posted a coded answer on the Reddit thread. I look forward to making more of these. The second one in the series should be out very shortly, and I'll be starting an interesting Italy openings series soon, so watch out for both of those. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the puzzle.